Hello, my name is Seymour Simmons, and we were given the task to answer specific questions in Module 4 from specific chapters. And to start off, I'll be going over Hepworth Chapter 8. The question for this one says, describe the positive and negative implications for clients and consumers who receive a diagnosis as part of their assessment. So for the positive implications, I said that having a diagnosis can make the person comfortable because they now have a name to what's been happening to them. A diagnosis can help people identify with the person better. It can help the family and friends learn more about the condition, locate support groups if needed, and stay in the know about developments and understanding the disorder. It can also be the use of accepted diagnostic terms to facilitate research on problems, identification of appropriate treatments or medications and languages among people with similar problems. For the negative implications, I said that diagnosis can never tell the full story. They can become self-fulfilling prophecies, meaning that the clients, their families, and their helpers begin to define the client only in terms of the diagnostic label. So it isn't just Rob anymore. It is Rob that has schizophrenia. He's schizophrenic. It's not just the person anymore. They're always identifying him by his label, what he was diagnosed as having. I also said that diagnosis may take over or hide important information about the client's difficulties and capacities. And what I understood that as saying is when looking at that person and you discover that they have the diagnosis, you only focus on that one aspect of the person and you then miss out on everything else that that person has to offer and who they are. And so to move on to pain, chapter 1, it wanted us to compare and contrast the three perspectives discussed in social work. So to start off, I said that three perspectives of social work are empowerment, problem solving, and social change. So to compare them, I said that each of the views say something about the activities and purposes of social work and welfare provision in any society. Each one criticizes or seeks to modify the others. To contrast them, I said that the important differences between the views of social work connect with different political views about how welfare should be provided. For for empowerment views, I said that they're also called therapeutic helping approaches. The social workers are seeking the best possible well-being for individuals, groups, and communities in society by promoting and facilitating growth and self-fulfillment. Here, practitioners help clients gain power over their own feelings and way of life. Economic and social development should go hand in hand to achieve individual and social improvement. Social change views involve the social worker seeking cooperation and mutual support in society so that the most oppressed and disadvantaged people can gain power over their own lives. This view expresses socialist political philosophy. An example of social change views are anti-discriminatory or critical practice. Problem-solving views is an aspect of welfare services for individuals and societies that aim to meet individuals' needs and improve the services offered to them. It sees social work as maintaining social order in the social fabric of society, supporting people during difficult periods so that they can recover their stability. This view expresses the liberal or neoliberal liberal political philosophy. Task-centered practice is an example of this. And to move on to Payne chapter 2, it was said to discuss the differences between a theory, a paradigm, and how does theory inform or guide social work practice. So for theory, I said that theory involves thinking about something. Theory offers explanation and understanding. Theory offers a practice framework. It organizes ideas and research that offers guidance about what to do in complicated situations. Theory helps us to be accountable, self-disciplined professionals. A paradigm is a model. It can have multiple theories within it. It is also a reference point of the theory. And so, how does theory inform or guide social work practice? It helps to understand and contest ideas, offers explanation and understanding, practices framework, and helps to be accountable and self-disciplined professionals. And moving on to Payne chapter 3, we had to illustrate and describe the linkages between theories, assessment, and evidence-based practice and interventions in direct practice. And we also had to answer what are the critiques to evidence-based practice, and in spite of the critiques, how has evidence-based practice been important to effective social work practice? So I said to illustrate and describe the linkages between theories, assessment, evidence-based practice, and interventions in direct practice. I said that theory helps us understand and contest ideas in the world around us, offers us a framework for practice, and helps us to become accountable, self-disciplined professionals. Theories are a generalized set of ideas that describe and explain our knowledge of the world in an organized way. EBP, or evidence-based practice, is following empirical evidence to decide on practice actions. There are two principles here. The first principle is a top-down approach. Evidence should determine how social work should be provided and organized. It looks at what kinds of practice have been found to be effective with particular groups for whom a service is provided. And it organizes services to practice in that way. The second approach is a system of practice in which individuals, practitioners, together with their clients, evaluate the most effective methods to help with problems faced by their clients. Assessments help social workers get to the root of the client's problems. It allows us to talk to the client and hear what they want to work on and what their goals are that they want to accomplish. Once the assessment is done, social workers then have something like a roadmap that they can follow so that they can be organized and know exactly how they want to approach the situation. Interventions focus on clearly specified outcomes, most effective in gaining commitment from both the client and practitioners to engage in the practice. I said that these are all linked because they provide organization for the client and the practitioner. They also allow practitioners to get specific information so that they know what to focus on, so that they can create the appropriate plan to help the client. To answer the section asking what are the critiques to EBP, and in spite of the critiques, how's evidence-based practice important to effective social work practice? I said that EBP is paradigmatic. It relies on a positive worldview that can't be integrated with the alternative interpretivist worldview. Promoting EBP, therefore, leads to division and sterile arguments that can never be reconciled. It is also practical, epistemology and research, cultural and political. And I also said that EBP allows social workers to get or research so that they can know exactly what they are talking about and how to approach the client. It also allows for more structure within the agency. Moving on to Payne Chapter 7, it states what are the key components or elements in systems theory and ecological perspective. For systems theory, I said that it includes the social and problem solving social work, but without including the full implications of social change in systems theory. In particular, adaptation assumed the status quo rather than seek appropriate social change, allow for multifactorial explanations, but the complexity of this is a barrier to clear prescriptions for action. Specifically, text mentions nuclear family, which is a macro system, and community, which is microsystems. Ecological systems theories, I said limited view of ecological issues, applying them mainly to psychological and individual equilibrium rather than broad ecological systems. And I also mentioned that two forms of system theory is generalized system theory and ecological systems theory to add to it. And moving on to the section that asks, what is the relationship between systems theory and ecological perspectives? I said that systems look at the social of a person. It looks at the boundaries of all the subsystems within a system, and it looks at the equilibrium. The ecological perspective focuses on how individuals act with the environment. How is the environment around them, around the individual, impacting them? Meaning, for me, it's like the nature versus nurture as aspect. How is our environment impacting us? How is it influencing us? What around us is causing us to act the way we do? That's what I took away from that answer. And moving on to Payne chapter 14, it wanted us to describe the essential differences between empowerment and the two types of advocacy approaches and provide examples of each approach as you discuss strengths and weaknesses of cause versus case advocacy. So I said empowerment and advocacy are both social democratic practices enabling people to overcome barriers in achieving their life objectives, to gain access to services, and to improve services, contributing to practice of and focus on social injustice. Advocacy has its origins in the legal field. Advocacy is the term used for lawyers' practice in the courts and elsewhere in representing their clients. Advocacy is an explicit group of skills with a literature base that forms an important element in legal training. Empowerment has a very broad use in several disciplines. Empowerment promotes control and involvement in clients' lives, communities, and services. Empowerment involves challenging oppression and making it possible for people to take charge of matters that affect them. There are two types of advocacy: case advocacy and cause advocacy. Case advocacy requires some kind of change. Cause advocacy is on a larger structural or systematic effort to change policies, common practices, procedures, and laws to advance social justice for a large group of society. Case advocacy is provided by professionals to enhance people's access to the provisions designed to benefit them. Cause advocacy sought to promote social change for the benefit of the social groups from which the client comes from, In the USA, advocacy mainly refers to cause advocacy to change legislation and policy on particular issues that affect social work client groups. Early in its development, case advocacy was seen as a supplementary service for clients with whom practitioners were working on behavioral or social issues. I said that some of the strengths of cause and case advocacy were that it gives clients confidence to handle issue on their own. You can gain useful skills that can be an important way of experiencing liberation. You can focus on the politics that relate to you or an individual. You can focus on the social welfare of the person in the community. Case advocacy is individualistic. It normally focuses on one person or one case. And I said that cause advocacy defends a group of people. So I also said for some weaknesses that it can be enabling because in in cause and case advocacy you find yourself defending the person, speaking on behalf of them. And I also said that for some examples, case advocacy, an example of it would be speaking for or representing someone or a group of people who cannot defend themselves at the moment. One person or organization can advocate for the individual or group. And for cause advocacy, I said an example would be speaking for a group of people, representing their interests and defending them. Now, cause advocacy is on more political aspect, meaning one example that I've read was an example of a couple in Egypt that were being forced to get divorced, but they didn't want to. So a group of lawyers stepped in to defend them so that the couple didn't have to get this divorce. That was an example I've read. So it's representing people in certain groups on behalf of a case where they normally wouldn't be able to defend themselves or don't have the means to. And for the last section of this chapter, it says, finally, how are empowerment and advocacy important to effective social work practice? I said that it helps practitioners because they draw attention to the possibility of seeing power positively as being available within society for people to use. Empowerment ideas also offer practitioners useful and practical ideas for including in their practice issues of oppression, critical thinking, and joint working with clients. Advocacy, both as a policy or systemic practice and on behalf of clients and vulnerable groups, is integral to many social work roles in the development of advocacy skills and actions is a crucial element of helping many clients. Advocacy is an increasingly important role for social work in all that they do and is in these less differential times an increasingly important form of practice within social work agencies. Advocacy is integral to social work ethical codes and to practitioners' core beliefs in human rights, social practitioners' core belief in human rights, social responsibility, individual freedom, and self determination. And those are my answers for Module 4. Thank you.